Hello and welcome to Youth in Sports, where every Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. we feature special guests from near and far. The program is sponsored by ATI Physical Therapy, providing certified athletic trainers to more than 30 area high schools and colleges. First State Orthopedics, the team taking care of Delaware with a commitment to excellence. And Wilmington University, where Youth in Sports is produced by the College of Technology's students and faculty. And now, from the studio at President Jack Barcelona's Wilmington University, your hosts for Youth in Sports, ALSSM Mr. Sports Medicine 2012, Dr. Michael Axe, UD and St. Elizabeth's own Dr. Joseph Strait, and co-founder of Youth in Sports, Mr. Walter Laudine.
Good evening and welcome to Youth in Sports, and here we are at studious Wilmington University. I'm getting to my thesaurus to use new words for Wilmington University. A place to be wherever you want to be, because you'll see the 17-year-old college freshman, you'll see the 35-year-old person going back to school getting their doctorate or their master's. It's a great place to learn, and we love being here. I'm Walter Laudine.
Joseph Strait.
Dr. Michael Axe, and I'm pleasure tonight to have a show that we think that you viewing audience are going to find pretty interesting. We have an attorney, Eric Doroshow, of a local firm, Doroshow, Pasquale, Krawitz, and Baya, and the head of the program here in sports management here at Wilmington University, Janice Wardle. Thank you both for coming, and we'll hopefully shed some light on some of the interesting topics that we have. Just as a background, why did we choose these two folks? Well, because we get a lot of questions from our young viewers about, I want to be an agent, or I want to, that probably the biggest one, Walter, they want to be, or as you would like to ask, about intellectual property. So you wrote a book, or you have a show. Okay, what is it that protects you? And I think that you'll have some other questions. And just the whole field of sports management has just exploded. This is the major for many of our athletes, and wait till you hear how many different disciplines it encompasses, or what this program prepares you for. And yes, you do have to take accounting, so you can't escape from it, Walter. It's one of those difficult courses. You know, each curriculum in biology or in pre-med, it's organic chemistry that Joey and I had to take. That it was the disclaimer. You had organic and physics. If you didn't get A's in organic and physics, it was going to be a long haul to get into medical school. In horse racing, you had a muck a stall.
Well, you know what we're going to find out tonight is it's not only the courses you take, it's the personality you have, how you relate. And one of the big things about being in any kind of field where you're trying to sell yourself, which you have to do whether you're a lawyer, an accountant, or a doctor. Luckily for you, your reputation precedes you.
It helps.
But one of the things I always wanted to know, and you know I have a good friend in Marty Brodeur, the goalie for the Devils, and his lawyer is a good friend of mine, and Marty's one of the few that uses a lawyer to negotiate his contract. Now, one of the things that I keep wanting to ask her, and I always forget, and I'll ask Eric here, if there's a contract that's out, and everybody could probably see it, why does a player have to have an agent to negotiate something that's already in print that they can use and not have to pay an exorbitant fee to an agent where you could pay a lawyer for a one-time deal?
Well, it's a percentage of the contract. It can be anywhere from 5 to 10%.
Well, that's what the agent gets. I want to know the lawyer doesn't do that.
No, the lawyer doesn't.
So I want to know why some of these athletes that are making huge sums of money would have to have one of these high-profile agents that are, you know, some of the things they do are outrageous. Why have to pay them all that money when these contracts are in black and white and they can just copy them?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I'm a Flyers fan, so I don't know if I should answer this about Marty Brodeur. He has tortured the Flyers for years. But having said that, a contract is really a piece of paper that binds two people.
Or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7.
Or several pieces. And clients always ask me, can I do this myself? Can I do this myself? I said, you can go to the U.S. Supreme Court yourself and argue the case. Then I'll say to them, well, what do you do? Well, I hang drywall. I tell them about a story when I was a young lawyer. I had to actually build my own office when I went to work for legal services. Well, I hung my own drywall, and it was crooked the entire time. So it's a question of who's best to do a particular job and who's not. That's one of the important factors in looking at this. A sports agent does more than just write or negotiate a contract. There's many different facets the sports agent will look into. Term of the contract, depending on whether there's a cap or not, money up front for bonuses, what kind of bonuses there would be.
A lawyer knows all that too, especially a sports lawyer. I mean, he knows all those facts.
A sports lawyer will often, you know, there are often lawyers who will do it all, but there are agents who are not lawyers who may send the legal work.
So in other words,
over.
an agent has to get a lawyer to do.
Well, the agent can wear two hats.
Okay.
The agent can be a lawyer and the agent. Okay, but often what you find from what I understand is the agent is not an attorney. It's someone that's that's familiar with the process and will often be negotiating these things. Anytime there's an important contract, it's worth the money to have a lawyer review it. That's kind of a standard, whether you're Marty Brodeur or whether you're buying a house tomorrow. You want to have a lawyer look at it ahead of time. And there's a couple of reasons for this. Often a lawyer will see some things in there that you may not see and will avoid litigation. That's the purpose behind it. You don't want to get into a problem, whether you're Marty Brodeur or whether you're going to settlement on a house.
Let me just stop. I understand that. The question I asked you is, why do you need an agent when you can have a lawyer?
Because not all lawyers, I think I can answer that question. Not all lawyers are able to answer those questions.
Well, wait a minute.
Unless they're
a contract. Here's Marty Brodeur's contract. He made $8 million.
No, he made $8 million for fulfilling 17 different things.
Well, okay,
that's important.
So I, as a new goalie or
Right.
a goalie of the same caliber, why can't I take his contract and say, yeah, this is a good contract. I don't want this because I don't want to visit my wife in Virginia every week, but I want this.
You can. And at First Day Orthopedics, you know the contract that my son will sign will be 80% the same contract that I signed because I constructed the contract with an attorney.
Okay, so he
First
doesn't
time.
need an agent
No.
to come in.
He does not.
Okay.
He can say, Marty, but Marty may not want to give up his contract because he spent all the money to
Janice,
have it.
do you
He
want
may own the
to
contract.
key in here?
Can I
Oh,
jump
please.
in here? I think I can answer your question.
Thank you.
You do need an attorney to review the contract in any type of legal
Sure.
aspect. And that's where sports management comes in. An
Wait.
agent or an agency is where our students work. An Octagon and IMG is not just one person or full of attorneys. The agents have a whole myriad of lawyers, marketing, PR people, accountants. Right now, a lot of accountants are becoming sports agents because the taxes, I mean, I'm sure you're aware, anytime an NFL player plays in another city, for that one day, if they earn $6,000 for playing in Chicago, you've got to pay city wage tax.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in other words, every
definitely.
city they play in.
So
Pay the
16
wage tax
tax
for that?
returns have to be
Okay.
done. So you wonder, how do you get in tax trouble?
So I want to have a tax lawyer too.
So
No, you want to have. Go
As-
ahead.
you want to have
a sports management person.
You want to have a
So
sports
the agent acts as almost like a family doctor that actually ends up.
a general practitioner. There
Exactly.
you go. And who can rally in. All right, we need an attorney to look over this contract. I need a marketing person who can go schmooze Gatorade and say, I need a publicist who can take pictures of you and get you on the front of Sports Illustrated.
Okay, I got that. That's
So
well,
that's
well
what
put.
agents do.
Okay.
They facilitate.
Well, you're
a
on a
whole
roll,
group of
girl.
people.
Keep talking.
But wait a minute. Let me interject. Let me interject. Let me play devil's advocate here.
Not you.
If I have a
Jersey
lawyer,
Devils, you bring
I
up
have-
the Devils and you play Devils.
if I have a lawyer that has negotiated my contract, can't that lawyer also act as my representative for Coca-Cola and Gatorade? And
Yeah, but is your attorney?
I mean, I know where your hat is, and I agree. I understand what you're saying.
But what happens is, and no offense or anything like that to my colleague here, I don't think your attorney is going to want to go to a New York City nightclub with you to a draft
To
party.
watch your gun.
Yeah, to make sure that you're seen with the right people and creating the right image, or wants to go with you to Boyd's to make sure that you have the right suit.
Gotcha.
So that's what.
That's well put. I understand what you're saying. There are all kinds of different facets where an agent is responsible for all that and a lawyer's not.
Right.
Okay.
But there are things that they work. Dr. Straight, what questions do you have?
No, I would love to know about the program here at Wilmington U.
I'm so proud of our program here. It's been around.
157 strong. We have 157 students over the 4 years.
Yeah, and
Not all in one class, though.
not all in one class. Our class size.
Give us an idea of what age
finish-
groups,
yeah.
from where to where.
You know, I do have to say, to go into sports management, it is definitely something that you want to do
Later
at a
in life?
young age.
At a young age.
At a young age, just because to break into this field, it's hard. It's long hours. The same way, you know, you mentioned a lot of athletes are in, and I would have to say it's probably only about 60-70% are athletes. And there's a good 40% are just true sports enthusiasts. You know, I stopped in high school, I stopped in junior high, but I still love sports, and they want to get into the field. But the same way you practice at night, when you're playing in high school and on Saturdays and things, when you're in sports management, it's weekends, it's nights. It's not something that you can start at 35 or 40 and say, honey, you know, I'm not going to be here for the next 4 months because it's baseball season or something, and I'm out every Sunday.
But do you
for
have the
football games.
creds to deal with, you know, the major corporations and the things that an agent does when you're young?
Yeah, well, as I said, you know,
They don't even know what they're learning, what to read. They're learning what to do, Walter. This is a journeyman program in which they finally put those aspects, as we talked about earlier. You said, well, I need more than one person, the general practitioner. Well, they needed a curriculum that had all those elements involved in one place so that they could get a taste of each of those elements.
Oh, I think it's a great idea, a great course, and I know it's
But I
wanted.
didn't. But I didn't say that. I said a lot of the athletes take the curriculum because they think it's near and dear to their hearts until they end up with accounting and a few other courses that they realize that perhaps it isn't quite the curriculum they thought they were. I think one of the classic lines was from a show. They asked the president why he only had 1 C, and they said it was in women's studies, and he said it wasn't quite the curriculum he thought it was. I think that.
Well, the thing is, it's long hours. That's what we have to look at is that you're starting at a younger age, and everybody doesn't go into professional sports.
No, they don't, and that's the exciting part, and that's what we do here at Wilmington, is expose them to a variety of job opportunities. I mean, the U.S. Labor Bureau put out that sports and entertainment between 2010 and 2020 will be the second fastest growing industry within our country.
We're going to go to a break, and we'll
Okay.
come back with that thought right after this.
I will keep dancing on point, even if it hurts.
My arm is killing me. I don't know if I can pitch another ball. But I'll just play through the pain anyway.
I have to do the big stunts. We look better than the other cheerleaders. Our tosses are bigger.
My elbow really aches, but I've got to keep better.
Don't tell them it hurts. They'll take you out of the game if you do. I have to push harder if I'm going to get a scholarship. I'm feeling dizzy, but I don't want to tell anyone.
Everyone's counting on me. I can't rest now.
Nearly 50% of all sports injuries sustained by middle and high school students are from overuse. Don't play through the pain. See your healthcare provider and follow their instructions for rest and recovery. Take the pledge. Become an advocate for sports safety. Visit StopSportsInjuries.org.
If you get injured and you want to get back as fast as possible, come back even stronger than you were before, I would definitely recommend that you come to ATI.
I recommend it to everyone who gets hurt. Unfortunately, injuries happen, but you can come here and make it a lot better. ATI does it the best. They do a hands-on, one-on-one evaluation. I'm getting better because of it.
Welcome back to Youth in Sports. Walter's had one of those senior moments here. We're back discussing an interesting show. We have Eric Doroshow from his law firm and Janice Wardle, who is the program director here at Wilmington University for sports management. Dr. Straight.
Janice, tell us about the curriculum that the young students here at Wilmington have to go through for sports management.
Okay. Well, it is a business degree. We are in the College of Business, and the key word is that it's management. So it's very similar to any other business management career. Dr. X talked about taking your accounting, finance courses, economics, marketing, general management. Can't hide from the math. But sports has become a specialized field in that we have courses specifically in sports marketing, facilities management. I mean, you have to understand the Phillies groundskeeper, the head groundskeeper, makes hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, there's a reason Citizen Bank Park is so beautiful. And it's more than just mowing the lawn. You have to know how high the fences have to be, what are the safety standards, how many barriers, all kinds of things. So
handicap requirements.
Handicap requirements, golf industry. So sports, we don't necessarily learn the typical business cases. We do a little bit, you might learn about Enron and Starbucks, but then we start talking about, well, let's do the New York Yankees. Let's do their financial structure. Let's do their hiring process, which is very different. We talked about contracts. Hiring and evaluations in the sporting industry is very different than in corporate America in your human resources offices. So that's why we specialize in the sports industry, because you have to know as a sports management major that you just don't have somebody send me your resume. It's like, no, I have to send out a scout, I have to look at their background, I need tapes. You're in collegiate sports. NCAA guidelines, have you gone through the clearinghouse? So there's a lot of different rules and regulations within the sports field that are different than in your traditional management field. However, sports has become a business. Bottom line, it's about the money, it's about the dollars, it's about safety, it's about public relations. So those general areas, it's more than just what's happening in the game. You have to make sure, are we getting the fans in? Do we have the right image? Are we paying our bills?
I want to take this course.
Really interesting.
It's a curriculum.
Really interesting.
It's a whole major. It's a whole major.
I think it really, I'm telling you, it just really sounds interesting. And not only for sports, for life.
Well, I think that's where a lot of it comes it's not all just sports. I mean,
I have students, they typically, they might come in and everybody says, from what they know, I want to be a coach. I want to do something with athletes.
Those are my guys that are coming to you.
Yeah. And a lot of them do. In fact, 2 of our baseball players from just 2 years ago have moved on and are doing collegiate baseball coaching. But the reason they were able to work at the college level was because they have a bachelor's degree, and there are several of them who are going back for their master's. So you have to understand they are working in a college university environment, academia, which their standards are, all of our staff, you want to move up, get your master's, get your doctorates. Do you see there's a lot of these basketball coaches that are now doctorates because they want to move up because they work for universities?
We know that there's not that many jobs in professional and college sports. So with all these kids in there, what other jobs are there outside?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, you know what? There are actually jobs.
You were going to talk about that.
Yeah, What I always tell my students, which is tough for people who are from the Delaware Valley, you've got to be willing to move. Now, we're very fortunate because we are close to, we have a lot of universities and we have several professional teams that
Four
we
major teams.
Yeah, you know, imagine if you were living in North Dakota, it would be real tough to be a sports management.
But if you add up all the people graduating in sports management in the Delaware Valley, we have over 100 a year.
Yeah.
If you add up all the programs.
So, but what happens is you have to branch out and just, I have students who work for the apparel companies, the Under Armours, the Rydell's, and because you have to understand who are their customers. If you're working for Under Armour and you're selling uniforms and shirts, you're talking to coaches all day long who are talking about their team all day long. That is the best job in the world. I was talking to some of the guys down at Dover Downs, and their requirement, their Monday morning meeting, their requirement is that on the weekends they have to watch races. So every Monday when they come in,
well, are you talking about harness races, or are you talking about car races?
Car races down at Dover Downs.
Oh, okay.
So they
well,
have
Dover Downs to me is harness races.
Oh, okay, that's true. That's true. And you have to understand that, but. I mean, just imagine what. Oh, I have to work this weekend. What do you do? Oh, I have to watch the Indy 500. Oh, I've got to watch the Daytona. You know, how tough is that?
Well, you got to like it, though.
You've got to like it.
If you told my wife she had to watch the Indy 500, she'd like,
you've worked. There's golf. We have a lot of students who work with the LPGA. There's the First Tee program. There's PGA programs.
A lot of
there's
charities
state programs.
too.
There's nonprofit sports.
All right, here's the tough question of your graduate. Who's your first graduate from the program? What year?
Oh, well, I'm not that old. Well, I've only been here 12. The program's been here 18. So.
Okay,
18 years.
All right, in your 18 years, that
12 years.
No, her 12 and 18. Who got the best job that you've seen? One of our graduates. Which graduate got the best job?
If you want for television, I would say we do have a gentleman that graduated about 4 years ago, did his internship with the Eagles. I hired him on. He's now in community relations director with the Eagles organization. So that's the PR. So he was able to.
Great job.
It's a great job. You know, he has to go to Eagles games, and plus he gets to go out and do something.
You
for
say he drives the cheerleaders from the event.
Yes, that's his job.
Janice, can I ask you one question? I was just I haven't read it, but I heard on the radio or as a book out about a gentleman who coached early on in his career, then became a wealthy stockbroker and decided he wanted to go back to coaching. And it took him years and years and years, and finally he got a coaching job. And I'm wondering, what does it take then for someone to become a coach? It sounds like there's opportunities at all levels.
Well, you'd mentioned having a personality. Well, to be a coach, obviously you had to have played the game. So it's hard to become a coach.
Or wanted to very badly.
Yeah, and you probably, if you did that, you would have to say, I started at 14 coaching Little League or something to that effect.
Moneyball, not necessarily would you have had to play the game.
But he wasn't a coach.
Never wanted to.
But it's a good point,
yeah,
right?
So, but to become a coach, usually they are, 99% of the time, they were at least collegiate athletes themselves. They do the heavy networking through the whole time. It is just like business or very similar to Wall Street. Sports, you have to have the personality. It's networking.
Connections.
When you'll see when a head coach leaves, they usually take their offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, or they take their batting coach along with them. You just get to know who you work with. That's the way it is in any other management
Let's talk
program.
a minute about you. Obviously, you're pretty versed in a lot of different areas of this curriculum, but you like it. When did you know that this was the program that you wanted to be part of and stay with?
Oh, it's so exciting. I was a high school athlete myself. I was telling you, I'm from South Jersey. Ran
big
with
in sports, South Jersey.
Yeah,
she
big
carried
sports.
Carl Lewis's bag to his meets, but
exactly. and I always say it's like, oh, I was on the Woodbury Relays championship team, and the only reason I was on that because Carol Lewis, his sister, was the anchor. So I ran the second leg. So obviously, I was not the fastest person on the team, but. When the program first started, obviously, it was very small, probably about 30, 40 students in it, and it was a program that was handed off to another chair as other major as assigned, and wasn't getting a lot of attention. We were going through accreditation, and they said, no, if you have a major, it needs to have its own program. And obviously I have sons who I spend my days on a football field or a basketball court every day, love it and enjoy it. And when they said, well, do you want to do that? I was just a faculty person at that time, and I said, I'd love it. I'd love to do it because that's what I do. I love sports, I love being out there and just encouraging the young people, and plus I already had the business background, so it was just a no-brainer for me.
Well, you can tell that you love what you do.
Can you ever?
And that, to me, is a big factor why you have 157 people in your class. And the fact that you have sons that look like they're athletes, you know what they're talking about.
At least they're big enough.
Right. and when you have a passion, I'm sure one of the things you say is, look, if you're going to get involved in something, make sure that you don't have to have an alarm clock to get up in the morning. If you like what you do, you're a winner.
I will tell you, the same way that you gentlemen are out here doing this show, I honestly have said, I've never encountered any person who's in this industry who says they don't love their job. Truly, do you understand?
That's excellent, because you don't hear that.
You can run into an accountant who says, "Oh."
So I'm going to ask you this kind of a prelude. We're getting into our 2 minutes to go mode. But all right, number one, why haven't you become an agent? Because you certainly have the disposition.
Oh yeah, right.
Okay? And number two, why haven't you gone to law school that has allowed you even more in an entertainment industry that you're now so versed? And we're going to come back with Eric in the next segment and say, wouldn't you want to hire someone that had a sports management degree if they wanted to do entertainment? It isn't something that they do a lot in his industry, but in his company, I'm sorry, in his firm. But certainly if you were going to expand to that, if there was a market for it, I think that I'll be interested to hear as a senior partner, founding partner, what he would think about. So why didn't you go, why haven't you become an agent? No one's asked you.
I didn't become an agent probably because, just as I said, I didn't start young enough. You know,
and you have a family.
Now I have a family. I got into this field 15 years post-graduation. So I was strictly business before I got into sports.
And it seems like you like educating.
Yeah, I do.
That's one of the big things that as an agent you don't have the opportunity to do. So
yeah, and
the education part is big.
And just molding the young people, but I advise, I go to the combine every year, and it's not fun. I mean, it's fun and it's interesting, but you know, you're at 3 o'clock in the morning, you're in the hallway with some trainer trying to get some guy to do drills, and then somebody will say, oh, my bag didn't come through, I don't have cleats, and I'm trying to find a Foot Locker in the middle of Indianapolis at 8:55 in February. I'm a little too old, but if I was 21 or 22, I would be enamored with it, but right now I'm just like, no.
But you know, you talk about personality, we just have a few seconds left. When we had Tina Martin from University of Delaware and BJ from the University of Delaware.
Softball.
Listening to them talk, you understand why they got people to come to their program. We got to come back. We'll be right back right after this.
What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means providing a personalized educational experience where students learn anywhere at any time. Wilmington University provides a variety of ways to complete your degree. Choose the flexibility of online learning, or attend classes during the day, in the evening, or on weekends at locations throughout the region. It's your degree. Choose how you earn it. Personalized education, affordable tuition. That's the difference at Wilmington University. What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means finding an innovative degree program that fits your goals and prepares you for a successful career. It means finding a school that fits your life. We know the importance of providing individual attention, affordable tuition, and unparalleled flexibility in service. Because at Wilmington University, it's not about meeting your expectations, it's about exceeding them. Personalized education, affordable tuition, that's the difference at Wilmington University.
Hi, we're back on Youth in Sports, having a great discussion about pro sports and college sports management, legal stuff. We're going to go now to Eric Doroshow and talk about some of the legal ramifications of the programs.
So, you know, what happens is they have this undergraduate degree, and in medicine we have 10 core courses that we're expected to take, and we can major in sports management as long as we take those 10 courses. And I'm sure that it would be fun, you know, to do that curriculum, especially if you've been an athlete, come from that background, and if you thought you were going to take care of athletes in the future. I think having a sports management course as an orthopedic sports medicine person that I am would have given me more reason to like what I do even more. When the lady asked me at a cocktail party, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon who takes care of athletes and do sports medicine. She said, do you think you can make a living doing that? Well, that was 1971, and I said, I don't know, but if I can't, I'll do something else.
Well, when I told my mother I was going in the horse business, she said, when one of my relatives asked what her son was doing, she said, my son's a bum. Then when I won my first $100,000 race, I was in the winner's circle.
Exactly, exactly.
So let's get to the legal part of it. So a young person wants to be a lawyer, okay? And you're now taking on, in your firm there are 20 lawyers, of which 7 are partners, of which 4 were the founding partners that you see on the billboard. So what would you recommend a young person major in, and how would you integrate if you were going to develop an entertainment division within your firm? What would you be looking for?
Well, listening to Janice and tonight and what your curriculum is, I mean, it's an excellent background for law school. You don't have a pre-law major like you might have in medicine. What they suggest is that you take as many different types of classes and courses as you can. The business background's critical, interpersonal relationship, critical in terms of being a lawyer. Writing, critical. All of these, accounting, again, critical, because you are looking at accounting and you're making decisions from a business standpoint. You must know what you're reading. So all of the above, you know, is something that I think would be helpful. At the end of the day, and I was thinking about this as you were talking about what you do, in law school, they teach you the very basics. Now they have some clinicals that you can go to, but essentially it's sitting and reading cases and listening to lectures to know what the law is.
Developing a vocabulary, honing your writing skills.
Right, and then you must pass the bar exam to practice. And then...
No, we're not talking about the one down the street that serves vodka and tonics, okay?
Do you have to pass a bar, Eric, in every state you're going to practice in?
Yes, yes.
So if you want to practice in New York, now, for example, if you have a client that all of a sudden has a case in New York, and you go to New York, let's just say you're not licensed in New York, are you allowed to sit second chair or third chair?
With permission from the court. That's called pro hoc vici.
Do they usually give it?
Yes, usually they do. You have to show you're fit to do this. Same thing coming in, although Delaware is somewhat stricter than some of the surrounding states.
Because Delaware is the incorporation.
And the courts here keep a very close and tight scrutiny on the practice.
To protect their lawyers.
Right. Delaware has been rated #1 as one of the top courts in the country for a number of years, court systems in the country, for court fairness, and the reason for that is...
A lot of case laws come out of Delaware to go to other places because, Walter, they feel that it stood the jurisprudence criterion from the other people that are evaluating in the law schools. So if you were in California, they'd be looking at Delaware case law.
Especially on corporations.
Yeah, especially on corporations.
500 or more of the top corporations in the country are incorporated in the state, and when they have litigation questions,
well, Disneyland's incorporated in Delaware, and everything's incorporated in Delaware.
Yes, there was a big case a few years ago. So this
Disneyland, right?
You're right, on Disney. But what I was going to say is, so when the person comes to us, actually today was the day of the bar exam. We have 2 new lawyers in our firm, which is great. The only problem is the only problem is they don't have a clue what to do because they don't teach you really in law school really a great deal about the everyday work. And
the same thing in real estate.
Sure, it's real estate, medicine.
Yeah, they don't teach
so you've got to work in the office and see the day-to-day.
What do you, they always say that when a lawyer first comes in, he's going to work 70 to 90 hours a week. Doing what?
Well, there are some firms that are working, incredible hours like that, especially Wall Street firms, some of the bigger firms doing corporate litigation. We don't have those types of hours, but it's certainly a pretty intensive hour situation. What are they doing? If I'm putting in hours like that, it's because I'm going to a trial. I'm going to Superior Court, and there's a client who's been injured in a car crash, and we're trying to get her fair compensation, or we might be fighting with an insurance company on a workers' comp case.
And one of the things when you fight with insurance companies, they got a battery of lawyers they keep on retainer because of the fact that they need them.
They will, or they even have them in-house now, too. So you're right. You're always confronted with that situation. People don't understand how difficult it is to try a case. That's one thing. I remember, if you watch these TV shows, you'll see.
It's not that way?
You'll see.
You'll see it done in
You'll see the partner.
I know it's not that way.
You'll see the partner give the file to the associate and say, "You're going to court tomorrow." I mean, it's a.
Well, what happened to a plaintiff's right to a speedy trial? What happened to that? For example, a person gets accused of something, he's going to go to trial, and he might, if he can't make bail, might stay in jail for years.
Well, keep in mind there's two kinds of cases. There's the criminal and the civil.
All right, civil is not
we've been
going to
talking
jail.
civil for
Well, they may go to jail.
Criminal is a different situation. There are constitutional provisions that require a speedy trial. Delaware has certain rules that do require that.
What's considered a speedy trial?
Okay, a little bit out of my expertise because I'm a civil lawyer doing kind of from that end. Depends on the case. I mean, we've seen some cases go to trial, fairly quickly. I'm thinking of the the Penn State case with the coach that went to trial up in PA within a matter of months, faster than anybody thought it would go to trial. And there are other cases that do tend to drag on, but Delaware does move. I can tell you, our judges have a very strict control of their docket. In other words, they want cases moved from a civil end and a criminal end. They don't like cases languishing. If a language is too long in Delaware, then if it's a criminal case, it can get dismissed. So it's something
the judge has that prerogative to.
The judge, yeah. What's my understanding?
Eric, how many cases do you have at a time? What's your case log, and what type of cases are you doing?
Well, most of what I do each day is not that kind of work, interestingly enough. What I do is people ask me what it is. I'm a problem solver. That's what I do. I mean, generally, I'm a problem solver. I could stem from picking up the phone to solve a problem, to writing a letter, to negotiating with an insurance adjuster, to going to the Delaware Supreme Court. Different kinds of problems require that. Most of what we do is fight with insurance companies, pretty much. Okay, why hasn't this bill been paid? Why hasn't this particular claimant been paid? We're dealing with attorneys. We often will take Dr. Axe's deposition. We're going to court. He'll tell us about why someone's been hurt and how it relates to an accident. But again, most of what I do is kind of in office making phone calls and meeting with folks. I'm also a teacher, which is also important. And I told this to my staff today. You're not just a paralegal, you're not just a lawyer, you're a teacher. Folks have to know what their rights are. That's kind of our moniker, know your rights. How much car insurance do I need? Folks come in, have no clue what it is. Might have gotten on the internet. They find out after the accident they didn't have enough. They find out after the accident their family's not protected. They find out after the accident they were underinsured and they could lose their assets to somebody else. So we do a lot of that. We come into doctors' offices too, like First Aid Orthopedics. We'll talk about can we help you get your bills paid. There's some ways to do that with automobile and workers' comp. We're always teaching. We're always talking to folks to try to permit them to know more.
How do you figure out, a question off the cuff that I always wanted to know, how do you figure out, for example, when the O.J. Simpson trial, when the one guy was wanted to be an actor and he was worked in a bar, how do you decide that he's worth $12 million for his life?
Yeah.
I mean, how does that come about?
Well, you know, this is something that juries do in Delaware every single day. They make that decision.
Well, you have to ask for a certain amount.
No, I don't actually suggest it. In Delaware, you can't even suggest it to a jury.
Can't. But in other states, you can.
Some states you can.
But this was in California.
Wow. No, but let's go back. No, let's go back to the whole process. Now that he can't suggest it, how subtly do they make it understood?
Well, it actually, there's a line. There's something called. There's something called.
That's 2 minutes. No, we're not.
There's something called the Golden Rule Doctrine, which says I can't say something like this. Put yourself in the Dr. X's position. He was hurt in a car crash and he's got a broken wrist. Think of yourself and what would that pain be like? I can't do that.
You can't?
I can't. No, I can't. I can't say put yourself in the Dr. X's.
What can you say?
I'm basically, what I'll say is you have to use your own common sense, your own discretion. There's 12 folks that sit on the jury. It has to be unanimous. And people that I know that have sat on juries talk about how it's negotiation back and forth. There is no guideline other than common sense. Common sense.
That's what we're lacking in the United States.
Well, not as bad as in some other places. You know, having toured the world and had more interaction.
That's right. You're a world tourer now.
I am.
I only have the benefit of Indochina, but
well, you had it, and you're historical. You had Indochina at a very tough time.
Right.
Okay. I'm dealing with more the European downfall and what they're thinking about things and their rights that they expect as a citizen. Certainly in this political time here in the States with what's going to happen next month, people understand and have an expectation. Well, I think that what the attorneys do is they give you reasonable expectations based upon the circumstance of which you've had an unfortunate circumstance, okay? They say, okay, this is reasonable, this isn't reasonable. And what I've noticed about the attorneys here in Delaware that are different maybe from other places that I've interacted with, that they don't set dreams to be too high, and yet we still see pretty large settlements that I would not have
occasionally
envisioned.
You will, but our Delaware courts, our juries are very, very conservative, and that's true. I mean, we
I'd
see
like
cases,
to choose the word fair as opposed to conservative.
However you might want to say. Doesn't make us happy, but
fair depending on what side you're sitting on.
Yeah.
What side you're sitting on.
What side you're sitting on. We got less than a minute left, and we want to get to the legal, as opposed to the legal in sports, and try to get Janice and Eric
Tell us the interaction on how we think that if you were going to make a hybrid, that a young person was coming from your curriculum.
Should they get a legal degree?
And how would what would they get a legal degree in? And how could you structure a master's curriculum to perhaps put them in that position if they didn't have the writing skills and so forth necessary to go to law school? Think about what the answer might be while we go to this break, and we'll be back right after this. How can I go to law school with a sports management degree?
If you get injured and you want to get back as fast as possible, come back even stronger than you were before, I would definitely recommend that you come to ATI.
I recommend it to everyone who gets hurt. Unfortunately, injuries happen, but you can come here and make it a lot better.
ATI does it the best. They do a hands-on, one-on-one evaluation. I'm getting better because of it.
I know they never make me play with these guys, but why do they make me train like them?
Training hard is important, and for professional athletes, it's their job. But kids aren't professionals and shouldn't train at that level. Keep kids safe on the playing field and out of the operating room. Become an advocate for sports safety. Visit StopSportsInjuries.org.
Hi, we're back on Youth in Sports, our last segment, and it's flowing, and we're having a great time. And it makes me want to take Dr. Janice Wardell's course in College of Business and Sports Management, and then we got Eric Doroshow talking about the legal ramifications of sports. And Mike, how are we going to blend this together?
Well, no, I'm going to come back to, okay, I gave the hypothetical before we went to break, which was you're going to take a sports, you've decided sports management was what you want to do, but your goal was to be an attorney someday in that field. And rather than take a history curriculum, like Eric did as his undergraduate major.
Well, I think that's a great, history is great.
No, I'm not fussing about
Eric,
that.
you'll know that of the 6,000 kids that we've had on the show.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
In 22
He's such a
years,
history buff. It's so bad.
2 talked about taking a history major.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I'd say to him.
And he doesn't know that. He's pulling that statistic out. I know, you're making it up.
No, it's not true. It's true.
Janice, it's all yours.
Well, honestly,
enough
sports
writing?
management, yes, there's definitely enough writing. That's a part of Wilmington University. We're very intuitive to that, and as far as requiring excelling writing skills, because we've talked to employers, and that's one thing that unfortunately our young people have just been lacking in, not just at Wilmington, but throughout the country. So we do encourage that in all of our programs. We do have a sports law class. It's legal issues, actually, in sports, and we do talk about NCAA guidelines. We'll talk about Title IX, all those types of great things. No, Linda Andrzejewski, our athletic director, teaches that. But
she was just on to talk about it.
Okay.
That was
so they do get a little bit of law in there, and we've been doing a lot more writing, especially with social media. If you want to know where you can get a job quickly for young people that nobody knows about for sports industry, is social media. So many colleges, nonprofits, professional teams are hiring somebody just to manage Twitter accounts, their web pages. I have a student now who's doing an internship with the Hockessin Athletic Club. They have, and they do a whole web page on there, and he does game recaps. They have apparently a big basketball league, and he's goes to the games, writes the recaps after the game, and posts them on the web. Now, it's to recap a game in 250 words or less is a challenge.
Sure.
And
it's like a law brief.
Exactly.
That's like becoming a reporter.
Exactly. And people like you and I mean, thank goodness I do have sons, because I probably would not have a Facebook page or a Twitter account or anything like that. So, if the young people are wondering, what can I do? Now these firms, if I've been head of the LPGA in Delaware for 20 years and somebody said, oh, we need a web page, I would have no clue. Ergo, Wilmington University sports management students, I can design your webpage, I can get your content, all that great stuff.
Because they took it as one of their core courses.
They take it as in their courses. And as far as students, many of our students do go on for law degrees, because of master's programs in sports management.
Oh, you have had some go on to law?
Oh yeah, they do. They do, because a lot of them do want to, they want to become agents, or they know that. So, for many years prior to, the last 5 or 6 years, that had been, oh, you need to be an attorney, because that's who had been agents, but now it's opened up. So a lot of people will go for law, and you can concentrate in sports law in law school. So a lot of students will do that if they decide I like
Janice,
academia.
a quick question. You've been here for 12 years teaching this course, and you're You're right on the cusp, really, of the internet and the computer age. Do you think that this computer age and the internet has intensified and helped people writing today, or hurt?
I say it hurt, because if you're a historian, you're not going to get any real depth out of these 2-page words. It's hurt as far as writing, but then again, I am not in this new generation, and in sports, you have to talk to your audience and your fans. And young people that are watching sports, 14 to 35, do not want to read a 2-page sports recap in the Philadelphia Inquirer. They want a tweet, they want a paragraph,
It's the now generation, they want it now.
That's it. So you have to know how to write to your audience. So that's a transition for people that have been in the industry for many, many years and people that are just coming in to keep that fan base.
I got a question. Oh, go ahead, Joey.
I always wondered, we're talking about monitoring tweets and things from professional athletes. We see them all the time on ESPN. I'm wondering if they're actually being written by the athlete themselves or by
there was a show about
sports management.
That one guy was writing for this athlete against this athlete, and they were fighting. And the one guy was writing them both.
Right.
You know, and they found that out later.
That's funny.
It's more of a publicity thing, but I always wondered if that's a job now.
It is a job. It depends on the organization, but they do have people that's their job, is just to put out tweets every 30 minutes.
Just for your own edification, I would put that in the contract that they're not allowed to.
And
if I was writing a contract or if I was in management, the first thing I would put in the contract when I was dealing with you or Eric is saying, I don't want these idiots to tweet or do any of that stuff.
All right, let's change to a more. I don't disagree with you. All right, so of interest, what did you talk about today at the water cooler in sports management? What was the topic in the office today?
Oh, today was just a few minutes about the NHL player lockout, and somebody was saying, "Oh, should I renew my season tickets or not?" And I said, "No." I said, "Last time they didn't play the whole season. No, don't."
Yeah,
don't tell any Flyers
about that.
So that was it.
And he agrees that they're idiots.
Yeah,
you know, both of them. But this time the owners want to be in control, and I think they've got the leverage, and I think the players are going to bend.
Yeah.
They're acting like the owners in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What was the talk to you today about at your office?
Had to be the debate.
Well, that for sure. That was topic number one. But after that, I just got an article called "The 10 Worst Insurance Companies," and unfortunately, one of my clients had one of the top 10 worst. So we talked about
job security.
this unnamed insurance company and all the nasty things that they did, and that was topic du jour. Because sometimes it's hard to get, people don't want to hear bad news, and sometimes, because the insurance company, honestly, they're the ones who are going to have to make that call unless you end up going to court and somebody else says a case is worth a certain amount of dollars. It's the company that's going to make the call, and a lot of folks don't like what the call is these days.
Well, you know, Mike says that everybody has an opinion. It's true. My wife's looking for a color printer online, and one company, I said, what about it? She says, 50% of the people love it. Says the best printer they ever had. 50% of the people said it's the worst.
Right.
Now, you know, how do you pick? You know, everybody has an opinion.
Yeah, I have. What did you talk about today at home? What was your discussion?
The debate.
The debate. The
yeah.
debate. Joey?
At home?
No, at work.
At work?
He hasn't been home.
I was just trying to find out if everybody was telling me the truth today. There was no debates.
Oh. Well, what we were talking about at First Stage Surgery Center today was the fact that there are still some season tickets left for Kayla Miller's mom at University of Delaware's women's basketball. Last week on one of our earlier shows, we talked about women's basketball, and they had 3,800 of their 5,000 season tickets were taken by the season ticket holders, of which I have 2. But there's still some available. So we're trying to sell them out. We'd like to see 5,000 people show up at the games and have fun. And you have to understand the relationship that we have at Wilmington University with Goldie Beacom, one of our arch competitors, but that we love them dearly, and also the University of Delaware, which is another rival in the sense that they have other athletic teams, but they're all so important to all of us because not everybody can play everywhere, and it gives a chance for someone to play somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, and one of the things I think everybody will agree is I'd rather have my kids, whether they're playing sports or playing the piano in the band or acting or whatever, dancing, as long as they're doing something and they don't have to be latchkey kids, and it's important. And I think that nowadays I think universities are understanding that it doesn't matter if you're on the cheerleading squad or the band or you're a star football or basketball player, they all count. Mm-hmm. Don't you agree, Mike?
I do. And it's one of those things that I've always been a firm believer that busy kids stay out of trouble.
Well, you're a big guy with the Boys and Girls Clubs.
When did we have our basketball league? We looked at the crime rate in Brookmont Farms, and we said, okay, can we open the gym up at those times, and will it make a difference in the crime rate? The JV crimes, not the big crimes. And it lessened it 60% just because the kids had a place to go. And then they used that information to pilot a program, and they got criminal justice money, and now, you know, they open those programs on a regular, and they establish teen centers, and they do other things that really can make a difference.
So Eric, let me ask you a question. What's the difference between a paralegal and a lawyer? Is it just passing the bar? I mean, if you have a paralegal that's very, well, we only have 2 minutes left. Just a quickie.
That's a fair.
Yes. I mean, the bottom line is a paralegal is someone, they can have a law degree, they can have a degree in anything, they can have a paralegal certificate, but it's someone who hasn't passed the bar. We actually have lawyers from other states who have worked in a firm that haven't passed the bar that we
become
use
a paralegal at your firm,
yes,
but have a license in Connecticut.
Exactly, that can happen too. So there's no
Eric, a good occupation to be a paralegal.
It is a growing occupation. I think.
Can anybody at Wilmington University get a paralegal license?
Yes, we do have a legal studies program that started in our College of Arts and Science
and then
about
go right into your program.
Yes.
Blend the two of them together. Go to Eric's
double
firm,
majors. We love it.
And there you go. You're a legal.
Why do you love double majors?
Sports entertainment.
Why do we love double majors?
The more knowledge, the better.
More knowledge, the better. More revenue, the better.
Ask a tough question. Ask a tough question.
We have
1 minute left.
Yes. Well, thank you both for coming down.
Thank you.
Eric, for sharing both your firm's experience here in Delaware with its 20 lawyers and 7 partners, and certainly Janice, with a program that's finally getting the attention that it deserves.
And thanks to you. Thank you.
And hopefully they'll have jobs. And I just love, I've learned so much about the variety of things that they can do coming out with this curriculum. It isn't just to work in the stadium to be a vendor.
And don't forget
what did you learn? What was the thing you learned tonight?
Well, I just learned from Janice about what a great program it is at Wilmington University to be in the sports management program, because it's so diversified, and you can use that knowledge not only for sports but for life.
Yeah, that's it. And just one thing I want to add.
You got 10 seconds.
We do have internships where you do get practical experience in sports before you graduate.
Thanks for watching. This is going to be a show that's going to be aired on multiple times.
What does opportunity mean to you? At Wilmington University, it means finding your relevance in the job market. That's why we offer career-oriented degree programs that meet employment needs in emerging fields. Dedicated professors bring their real-world experience into the classroom so you'll graduate with the tools you need to succeed on the job. It's your degree. Make it relevant to your career. Personalized education, affordable tuition. That's the difference at Wilmington University.
This show was sponsored by ATI, the company taking physical therapy to a higher level throughout the country. First State Orthopedics, where Youth in Sports hosts Drs. Straight and Axe are members of the team taking care of Delaware with a commitment to excellence. And President Jack Barcelona and his Wilmington University College of Technology, where each semester this student-run program is produced, directed, edited, and distributed under the guidance of the TV production faculty. Each guest receives a copy of the show, and all shows are available on the web at youthinsports.com.